Hello, classics. Hope you all are doing well. As you all know, we have already started chapter 7, right? So, today let's proceed with the explanation part of chapter 7. Okay? Alright. Students, this chapter is basically a poem, and the name is Rules of the Game by Dev Calder. You see, from the title itself, you can assume that this particular poem is based on game, maybe some rules or regulations of the game, isn't it? Alright. Now, before starting, let us know about the poet briefly, that is Dave Calder. Well, you see, Dave Calder was born in 1946 in Scotland. His work is published in 22 collections of various sizes and several hundred anthologies. In this poem, that is, in the poem Rules of the Game, Dave Calder describes why rules are important and how you can play a game in a systematic manner. Students, you that just think once that if there would not be a single rule while playing any game, then would the game be interesting? I mean, would you enjoy playing the game without any rule? Just think and let me know. Okay? Okay? Alright. Now you do one thing, just pause the video once and read the poem thoroughly because it will definitely enable you to understand nicely. Okay, so just pause the video once and read it. Done? Alright. Now let's start the poem. Let's start the explanation of the poem. I will just explain it in a brief manner, okay? Well, here in this particular stanza, the poet talks about his school days. In his school, there was no field, so he could play football only in the yard, and that also only on Thursday. Only on Thursday they were allowed to play football. They were not allowed to play on other days. And he says that is the very first rule. The poet feels the rules are important for any games, and one cannot play without accepting the basic rule. He talks about the snakes and ladders game. You all know it, right? In this game, you need to throw one. Without it, you cannot move forward, isn't it? But the poet also says that players sometimes modify the rules according to themselves. Like in Snakes and Ladders game, the basic rule is you need to throw the dice, right? But after that, you can modify the game as per your wish. I mean, uh, even if you make a rule, even if you make a rule that you will start at the top and go down through ladders and up through the snake, in this way also there can be a good game, isn't it? So according to the poet, you can make this type of rule yourself. The players can modify the rules of a game if they want to do something different and exciting, or if there are not enough players, then also the rules can be modified. Okay, all right. Now in here the poet says, uh, secondly, the poet talks about the football game. Like, uh, if you make a team of 6 players and another of 5 players, and there will be no goalie. Goalie means a goalkeeper. Then also you can play it right. The poet says that rules are just what you agree among yourself. This is the main thing which the poet wants to convey through this poem, and that is rules are based on our mutual understanding. Like if all players agree to a certain rule, then there won't be much difference and the players will also enjoy it. But the poet says there might be a trouble. If how there can be a trouble? So there might be a trouble if your ball crosses the wire fence and is definitely off the pitch. And also if you come in the way of the big boy or your senior, then of course there might be a trouble or problem, isn't it? And if you are rude or not behaving properly to the janitor means the caretaker of the school. So if you are not behaving properly with the caretaker of the school, then he might send you inside the classroom, isn't it? So that can also be a problem, right? So, and the poet says that kicking spectators or their lunch boxes are not at all allowed. You need to tolerate the crowd, and you can also start a fight that stops the king. Clear? Alright. So now let's move to the next stanza. So you see, in this particular stanza, the poet says, even if we change or modify certain rules of a game, we must keep most of the basic and simple rules the same. That means we must keep the basic rule same, though the other rules we can modify, but the essential and basic rules should be kept same. The simple or definite rules which are kept same are like in football. Okay, the poet is talking about football again. He is talking about the same game. So in football, what we cannot do, what the simple rules what we need to keep is, we cannot use our hands or fist, right? You cannot use your hands or fist in football, isn't it? You cannot trip deliberately, you cannot pull shirts, and also you cannot sit on the ball unless you achieve a goal. These rules are enough to follow. These are basic rules which needs to be followed, though other rules can be modified, but you cannot modify these rules. Clear? Alright. Then the poet says that if you play after the bell ring, if you play after the bell ring, then there might be a problem, isn't it? You might get suspended from the class as a punishment. And if anyone like what can be some other problem? The other problem can be like if anyone pick up the ball and run away with it, then he would be a nitwit, means a foolish person. Nitwit means a foolish person. If a player pick up the ball and run away, then he will definitely be a foolish person, isn't it? That won't be the same game anymore, right? Will that be football anymore? No. Why? Because players are not allowed to touch the ball with their hands in football, right? That would be what game? That would be rugby. Because in rugby, players can run with balls in their hands. See the images? This image is of playing football. You cannot use your hand here, right? And this image is of playing rugby. You need to use your hand here. So in the poem, what the poet says is, if someone picks up the ball and run away, then that won't be football anymore, because that that players has touched the ball, isn't it, with his hands, right? But in football you cannot touch, so that won't be football anymore. That will be some another game, and that is rugby. Why? Because in rugby players can run with balls in their hands, like this player. See, he is running with ball in his hands, right? Okay. Now see, if a player picks up the ball and run, then that would be breaking the most essential rule of football, isn't it? As you cannot touch with your hands, but the player is just touching, not only touching, he is just picking the ball and running, and that is like breaking the most essential rule of football, isn't it? And as a result, there might be a declaration of war by the other players, right? So this is what the poet says in this poem. Students, through this poem, the poet wants us to know the importance of rules in games. Not only in games, but also in our lives. That why rules, maintaining a certain rule is important in our life. The poet just wants us to convey that message, that we should maintain the basic rule, we should accept the basic rule in our lives also. So this is what the poet wants us to know. Okay, then that's all for the day. Try to write the summary of this poem and send it to me. Okay, try to write the summary and then send it to me. All right, then thank you.